I'm back for a discussion around limiting beliefs. You've seen any of our live streams. We mention this a lot and how limiting beliefs can sabotage your relationships. And so I want to do a little bit of a deep dive around this. I want to share really what are we talking about? What are limiting beliefs? How do they literally ruin your relationships? And what can you do to make sure that you're not being sabotaged by beliefs that you might not even know that you have? So what are limiting beliefs? Limiting beliefs are essentially conditioning that we inherit as a child most of the time. So the first 7 years of our life that's when we're most impressionable. Our brain waves are still in a dreamlike state. So if you think about kids and they really don't think things through and you have to repeat things to them all the time, they're really just living and dreaming and absorbing through osmosis their environment, and then they're unconsciously making meaning out of that, and that's getting hardwired into their psyche. And I believe that even after that age, it's never too late. It's never too late to change these beliefs. But basically, limiting beliefs are subconscious in nature, so it's a biological adaptation to our environment. So it's essentially part of our human conditioning that is designed to keep you safe. It's designed to keep things status quo. So if you think about if you were, raised in a traumatic environment or a chaotic environment, your psyche will take that into consideration. It will teach you how to survive, and that becomes your default mode. And so then as you grow and you get older and maybe you start to get involved with people that you have the potential to have a healthier relationship with, people that really have your back, whether it's friendships or intimate relationships, and you notice that these patterns or these defaults are taking over, it's only because that's your brain is trying to keep you safe. It's not your fault, really, because that part of your brain is actually really powerful. It's way more powerful than whatever your intentions are. They're way more powerful than what your insights will bring to you. You might have already done some therapy. You might already recognize what your limiting beliefs are, but they could still be driving you if you don't really change them, because the second you get triggered or the second something happens where you go into fight or flight mode, that part of your brain, which is millions of times more powerful, will scream in your ear, or it will just have you reacting before you even realize it. And then later you're like, shoot, that was the old way. That's not really what I want to be doing anymore. But I say that just to reinforce the idea that we don't want to be at war with that part of us. We just want to recognize that's the part of us that is designed to keep us safe, keep things the same as a way of surviving as a biological organism. Because as a human being, the idea is okay, if we can adapt to the environment in early childhood and we can understand and make meaning out of where you were raised or the culture that you live in, that's going to serve you for the rest of your life. That part of your conditioning doesn't take into consideration that as you grow and you expand, and the spiritual side and the intelligent, conscious, higher self part of us human beings will pull us into something better, or will try to pull us into something better, and then that other part of our brain, those limiting beliefs, will pull us back. So it feels hardwired, although it can be reconditioned, like I mentioned. And what's difficult about this, like I said, you don't want to be at war with this part of you, but you have to recognize that that part of you is very sneaky. It will come in there when you're not even recognizing it. And then maybe you'll be in the mid-reaction or mid-thought process and you recognize, oh, okay, those are my limiting beliefs coming in here. And it's really hard to know because it can feel so true. It feels like the only way to view the world. It feels like the truth of something. And it's really hard to remember what your intentions were. It's just the way that the psyche is wired, I guess, biologically, the way that our brain works. And it's really the back part of your brain, and then the frontal lobe of our brain, that's the part of our brain that is connected to our more intelligent side, our creative side, our dreaming side, our ability to say, I can imagine something so much better than what I have right now, and I can get there, even though my previous experience doesn't support that. And I have no reason to believe that's true from my own experience, but from seeing what's possible in other people's lives, or just through the capacity of our imagination. And the problem with limiting beliefs is that they will win. They will win against the higher part of us because they are just simply more powerful. I'm going to give a personal example in my relationship. So early in my marriage, I used to feel that if I were to share how I felt and if I were to be vulnerable, instead of trying to manage something, instead of trying to fix something, that it would be used against me later. Now, I didn't realize this at the time. I just remember noticing that I would go from 0 to 60 and I would either shut down if I felt confused, or if something was happening that made me mistrustful and I wasn't sure how to make sense of it, I would either shut down or I would go into fight mode. And in the research that I was doing and in the discussions I was having with my husband, I realized that I was just bypassing what I wanted to do, which was to be able to say, I feel confused right now, or I feel really vulnerable, or this is where I'm struggling. And when I realized that, and then I tried to change it, first I was like, okay, this is great. I had an aha moment. Okay, that's fantastic. I'm so glad I realized that. Now I'm not going to do that anymore. But then the next time it would happen, I would still respond in the old ways, even though I knew that there was a limiting belief inside of me, that what I share will be used against me, that I can't trust the people that say they love me, that I'm not emotionally safe. And that is what my limiting beliefs were telling me, even though that wasn't the case in my actual current reality. I recognized that, but I wasn't able to change the way that I was actually responding to it, which is super frustrating. And maybe you've had that experience. If there's anything you've tried to change in your life, whether it was a health decision or a relationship change that you've tried to make in your marriage, you know what that's like. Another example, if you're thinking about your own situation, if there's something in your relationship right now, and this is for my group, the Art of Healthy Authentic Marriages, so you're probably here because there's some area of your relationship that you're working on. If you're doing something that you know doesn't work, but you feel like you can't stop doing it, that will be a sign that you have a limiting belief of some kind, or that there's some subconscious programming that's connected to those limiting beliefs. Also, if you know something intellectually, but internally it feels very differently, and the internal gut part is winning. If that's happening with you, then that means you have limiting beliefs that need to be reconditioned. So first I'm going to share what you can do if you do recognize this in yourself. Then I'm going to share what you can do if you're not sure if this is happening. So number one, if you know that you have limiting beliefs, then you want to write that down, all the different iterations of that. You'll notice that as you start writing them down, more will come to you that are all connected to that, and you want to brainstorm that. So you have like a list of your limiting beliefs, and then you're literally going to go through and rewrite them and make them positive beliefs, like the opposite. What would it be? What would be the opposite of this belief? Write that down, and then you want to commit to internalizing that. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can do that. Cognitive behavioral therapy is the most evidence-based way that people have recognized, because it was funded through research. We've been able to discover that changing your thinking can change your emotions, and that's through repetition. There's hypnotherapy, there's psychological kinesiology, there's NLP, there's visualizing, there's meditation, anything that integrates both hemispheres of your brain at the same time or puts you into a whole brain receptive state will help you internalize these new beliefs. And then from those beliefs, those new beliefs, I am worthy, I am safe, I am capable, I am competent, all is well in the world. If you really believe that, you're going to start to show up that way without even having to think about it, without having to work against yourself. Now, if you are not sure exactly and you're not able to just sit down and write down what you think your limiting beliefs are, then pick an area in your relationship that you recognize that your reality currently is not aligned with what you really want. The reason that matters is because when we start to condition our beliefs, we have to know what they're serving. What am I going to create with these beliefs? So know what your end goal is in mind. And then commit to deciding, what do I need to believe in order to have this thing? What do I need to believe in order to not react in this way with my husband? What do I need to know in order to not be hurt by something that my wife is doing? What is it that I need to know in every cell of my body in order to effortlessly create what it is that I desire? So then you start writing those things down, and now you have new belief statements. So there's two different ways that you can come at this. Then you just have to commit to reconditioning. You have to decide that you can change these beliefs and they will serve you. And this is hard because in order to do that, you have to give up the idea that truth is what was taught to you. You have to be willing to say, maybe what I was taught or what I was assuming based on my experiences isn't true. The things that you internalize as true growing up is not any more true than what you would choose to be true now. It's arbitrary. It has to do with where you were born, who was around you when you were growing up, what happened to you, what you were witness to, the messaging that you received. That was not something that you could choose, but it doesn't make it any more true. It just is a product of your environment. So you can decide to create your new psychological environment. That's basically what belief change work is creating new messaging for yourself. That includes doing belief work, and it also includes who do you surround yourself with. Are you in a community of people that are elevating themselves in a similar way that you want to? Are you surrounded by people who are doing this work, this inner work, and trying to become healthier in their relationships and grieve and release their dysfunction? Surround yourself with those people who are going to give you the same messages, people who see your beauty, people that know your worth, people that are going to reflect back to you the same beliefs that you need to remember. Because you can be doing all this work internally to know what the beliefs are and then engage in a modality that will help you really internalize these new beliefs. But if you continue to be in an environment where you're getting contrary messaging, it's going to be really hard for that to stick. So that's a big part of it as well. And the hardest part of this, honestly, is just deciding, recognizing that you actually have the power to change your conditioning. If you decide and you want to, it takes conditioning though. It's like when you think about conditioning your body, you have to go to the gym, you have to use your muscles, you have to do something. You can't just think it and now it will magically happen. You do need to spend some time with repetition. Depending on the modality that you're using. I find that cognitive behavioral therapy doesn't go deep enough with the subconscious, but for some people it's really great. So you just have to decide what's going to work best for you. Any aspect of your life, if you look at it and you say, this is not what I want, you have to know that actually part of you does want that, or you wouldn't have it. It's part of your conditioning. And so I think the hardest part about this is not the mechanics of changing the beliefs. It's actually getting to the point of recognizing the power that actually has and how much it can fool you, and to be humble enough to recognize there's a part of me that wants what it is that I consciously don't want. And that part of me is very strong, and it's not my enemy. It's trying to protect me, but I can change that. And I can bring it on board, and I can internalize something that will help us, these two parts of you, connect and say, now we go together, right? It's almost like inner child work, if you know anything about inner child work or shadow work. You can't lock up the shadow, or you can't put away the part of you that's sabotaging you or screaming at you things that are going to bring you back. You have to love them, embrace them, and then put them in the back seat with their seatbelt on so that you're still in control of your life. You take control and you lovingly integrate that part of you that is trying to keep things the same, that is not letting you expand in ways that you really want to, that you really desire. And especially with relationships, having a healthy primary relationship is really a game changer for all areas of your life. If you have that and you can have beliefs that support that, everything else you want, all the other goals that you have, are going to be so much easier, because having that connected, deep, safe relationship, that primary attachment that we as humans need so much, and that sense of belonging and health, that relational health, is going to be the support for your other passion projects, or your parenting, or your work, your career, any area where you want to expand. Your relationship can be the base for that. So I do think this is the most important thing, and I think it's overlooked in traditional therapy. Couples therapy, you can have the tools, you can have amazing tools, but if you don't have the beliefs to support using those tools when it really counts, you just won't do it. And it's not your fault, it's just the way that your brain is wired as a human being. So embrace that part of you with compassion, forgive yourself for the ways in which you have been stuck from your conditioning, and decide right now to draw a line in the sand, to no longer participate in that, or to start bringing the light of your own observation into those moments where you realize that those old patterns are winning, or, oh, that belief is guiding me right now, and at least noticing that as a win, because it gives you that pause. You know, anytime you're observing and you're developing, that's why meditation can help with this too. It develops that observer part of you, bringing your awareness into the moment where there's a part of you that sees that you're reacting based on limiting beliefs, and then there's a part of you that is just identified with that limiting belief. So don't hate on the part of you that identifies with it. Just expand the part of you that observes it and recognizes how it's not serving you and knows that you actually don't have to live there anymore. So that's the biggest takeaway for this. If you can walk away with anything, it would be just to know that you do have the power to change that. If I can do it, you can do it. Believe me, because I mean, I was on my knees many times and I was praying and saying, please, I want to change my ways. I want to change the way that I react. And every time I would have a setback, it was so hard to believe that I could truly transform my relationships. And I have. And I know that if I can do it, you can too. I just know that. So, and I've seen it enough with my clients, people that are also like just so in the trenches and so stuck and feeling like the groove is so deep, it feels like it's so hard to get out of that. All you have to do is decide and then just spend some time on it every single day. No matter how busy your life is, you always have time. You always have the space in your life to do that. You just do, even if you think you don't. And if you don't have time to do it, then you need to do it even more. So that's it for today, you guys. I will see you next time.